What's going on, guys? It's your boy Big Hero Chris back at you with another one. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe, give me a thumbs up, ring the notification bell, hit me up on Twitter, TikTok, the community posts. You ought to know the vibes. And good God Almighty, what a long day for professional wrestling this is, or was, whatever, man. So you had All In that started with at 1. If you watch the pre-show. And it didn't end until like 8 something, and then on top of that you had Saturday night's main event, which ended at 10, and then somewhere in the middle you had NXT. It was just a long day of professional wrestling. But you know what, man, these are the games we play. You know, it's all about the graps. So I'm gonna just go ahead and just knock out Saturday night's main event from what I saw. So mainly there's only 2 things to really talk about. The first thing is Goldberg's last match. And initially, when this was first announced, when it came out that Triple H wanted this match to be for the World Heavyweight Championship, which is why Jey Uso lost, I had this nagging suspicion that WWE was going to do some heinous shenanigans that was put the title on Goldberg, especially since they were clearly trying to counter program AEW All In. And to my surprise, they actually didn't do it. It was Goldberg's last match, and they held up their end of the bargain. Goldberg retired, and it was an okay match. Like, you had the typical Goldberg nostalgia. They did a good job of hyping up Goldberg's career, and it was pretty cool to see, you know, the Goldberg entrance one last time. Even saw Ernest the Cat Miller. I'm like, yo, what is he doing here? But you know, it wasn't nothing egregious. It was a match. There was a ref bump. You know, Charles Robinson took the ref bump. He took a spear from Goldberg. So, you know, prayers up for him. GG's in the chat. And Gunther ended up choking out Goldberg. Wow. So that was Goldberg's last match. And what made it even funnier is Goldberg was trying to, you know, cut his speech, do his final speech, and he really got cut off by, you know, Peacock and NBC. Like, he didn't even really get to finish his whole speech, so, you know, it sucks for him. But, you know, it is what it is. The other thing I wanted to talk about from this show was Seth freaking Rollins. And it appears that my guy is injured, and it looks like he hurt his knee. I don't know if it was the knee he hurt last year before WrestleMania, or if it was his other knee, but it does look like Seth Rollins is indeed injured. And if I'm not mistaken, it looked like he injured his knee the same way he injured it last year when he wrestled Jinder Mahal, when he went for that Swanton moonsault spot. Only this time Seth landed on his knee, and he just landed funny on his leg, and it looked like his knee buckled. So much so that, you know, he couldn't really finish the match, so they just went straight to the finish, and LA Knight won. So, you know, prayers up for Seth. But we go on to the AEW side. Speaking of prayers up, and we gotta send a big prayer to not only Seth Rollins, but to Adam Cole. Now, earlier in the day, Tony Khan announced that Adam Cole was not able to compete for the TNT Championship, and he had to vacate it. And that's how I knew something was off, because normally in these type of situations, Tony Khan will have an interim champion out the wazoo. Like, he did it last night for Ring of Honor. So, you know, in order for somebody to actually have to drop the title and not have to, you know, still technically be champion and have an interim champion crown, that's how you know something was serious. So before the TNT Championship match, Adam Cole came out and, you know, he apologized to the fans for not being able to compete and live up to his obligations. But he did, you know, let the fans know that it is something serious, and he did mention retiring. Like, we don't know if he's going to retire for certain. It's up in the air at this point, but it does look pretty serious for Adam Cole. And, you know, everything I've heard about Adam Cole, whether behind the scenes or, you know, in the ring, he's like legit one of the nicest people on the face of the earth. So this really does suck for him. Hopefully whatever he's going through isn't so serious that he does have to retire. But if he does have to retire, which I hope he doesn't, but if he does, he's had an amazing career all over the world, different promotions, WWE, AEW, Ring of Honor, all over, man. Adam Cole is one of the best to ever wrestle a pair of boots, and, you know, we're definitely praying up for the dude. But however, the title did have to be vacated, and Tony Khan turned this into a fatal 4-way match, which I'm gonna go on a little mini rant, because the fatal 4-way match was between Kyle Fletcher, you know, makes sense, Daniel Garcia, made sense, Sammy Guevara, which, you know, kind of makes sense. I could see that because he is from Texas and Sammy is a former TNT champion. And the fourth person of all people was Dustin Rhodes. And I'm like, why is Dustin Rhodes in this match? I get he's from Texas, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. And what makes it even worse was Dustin Rhodes was the person that ended up winning the TNT championship. And I'm like, why? Kyle Fletcher was right there. Even if your plan wasn't to put it on Kyle Fletcher, put it on him anyway. I don't get it. Daniel Garcia was right there. Hell, even Sammy Guevara was right there. But the person I really wanted to win was Kyle Fletcher. And I don't understand why it had to be Dustin. I understand he hasn't won a championship in AEW, even though he's the Ring of Honor Tag Champions and the Ring of Honor 6-Man Tag Team Champions. So for whatever reason, we have to put another belt on Dustin Rhodes. I don't get it. I don't understand it. But to be fair, this was the only thing I really had to complain about from this show, because everything else on All In was awesome. You had the men's casino battle royale, which had the return of Juice Robinson, and the Ass Boy showed up as well, so that made me happy. MJF won as I predicted, so he is officially the #1 contender for the AEW championship. And then you have the women's casino gauntlet, which in my opinion was better than the men's. And to my surprise, I predicted that Chris Statlander would win. It was either between her or Megan Bayne. But of all people to win, which I'm not mad about, Athena won. And I'm like, that's cool. So I'm thinking, all right, so Athena is the #1 contender. So I'm thinking maybe Mercedes is going to win all the belts. To my surprise, she did not. Mercedes Mone has taken her first loss in AEW to Timeless Toni Storm. And this was an amazing match to the surprise of nobody. And hopefully, it probably won't, but hopefully this finally squashes those creative control rumors. I doubt it, because, you know, people are just crazy out here. But Mercedes Mone's lost. Timeless Toni Storm is still your AEW Women's Champion. And I can't wait to see her versus Athena. I think that match is gonna cook. We also had a trios championship match. The Ops beat the Death Riders with Gabe Kidd. You know, it was an okay match. It was the opener. But after the match was the real story, because the Death Riders ended up beating up Samoa Joe and taking him out. So he's out of the picture. And that's because I think Samoa Joe was off to film the next season of Twisted Metal. So, you know, good for him. But, you know, that sucks for the Ops. Speaking of tag team matches, we had a 3-way tag team match. The Hurt Syndicate taking on the Patriarchy and JetSpeed. And to kick off the match, we had Smoke DZA and Westside Gunn, along with MVP, perform the Hurt Syndicate theme song. You know, Westside Gunn and Smoke DZA were doing their thing, but then you had MVP perform his verse, and the whole time I'm like, yo, this dude is not a live performer at all. Like, he raps, but as far as his performance skills, they're not all there. Like, somebody on Twitter said it looked like he couldn't remember the words to his own song. I'm like, that's pretty funny, and it's accurate. And to the surprise of nobody, the Hurt Syndicate ended up getting the win. You also had FTR on commentary, who competed on the 0 Hour show against the Outrunners, and they won their match. So they were out on commentaries, you know, to keep an eye on things, to keep an eye on the tag team division. And mostly they were talking a whole bunch of trash about Christian Cage and, you know, the Patriarchy. So after the match, you know, the Hurt Syndicate leaves, JetSpeed leaves, but then you have Christian Cage and the Patriarchy. It's more like they're getting ready to leave, and FTR pulls up. And of all things to happen, you had Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian attack Christian, and it looks like they're in cahoots with the FTR. And I'm like, yo, I didn't see this coming. I did see some shenanigans coming post-match, but I didn't see it happening like this. So as this is happening, they're putting the beats up to Christian. It looks like Nick Wayne is going to hit Christian with a concerto, but then you get the theme music of Cope, the return of Edge. And the funny thing about this is, so during Crown Jewel, you had Penta come out to make the save during the John Cena Cody Rhodes match, and people were kind of like getting on him, not in a bad way, but kind of like cracking jokes, because as you know, the beatdown is happening, he comes out and he does the Penta walk, and like, yo, we haven't seen anything this funny since Jeff Hardy. And if you remember, Jeff Hardy was coming out to make the save for Matt Hardy, and as he's doing that, he does the Jeff Hardy dance, and it's like, yo, we haven't seen anything this funny since Rhea Ripley in NXT when Charlotte was beating up Bianca Belair, and Rhea Ripley did her full entire entrance as this is happening, and I'm like, damn, that's crazy. But but Cope definitely took the cake because, like I said, they were about to hit the concerto on Christian. Cope's music hits. He comes out, does his full entrance. He runs to one side of the stage to point to the crowd, runs to the other side. Then he walks down to the ring. As he's doing this, he poses, does the edge pose. Pyro goes off, and I'm like, man, they could have legit murdered Christian by the time it took Cope to get to the ring. But Cope eventually makes his save like 20 minutes later. And then you have the moment between Edge and Christian where Edge helps up Christian, and he starts off by saying, go find yourself, which is a play off the whole go fuck yourself thing. So it's looking like that's how we get the Edge and Christian versus FTR match. I believe they're having a show in Toronto, like a pay-per-view in Toronto, not too in the distant future. So that makes sense. But Cope is a horrible person. So speaking of tag team matches, we have probably one of the best tag team matches I've seen in a long time, and that's between the Young Bucks and Swerve and Will Ospreay. Like, they're doing all types of cool moves and shenanigans and whatnot. And I actually predicted that the Young Bucks would win because I was thinking, like, man, as funny as it would be to see the Young Bucks not be EVPs anymore, I felt like there was more of a story with Swerve and Will Ospreay not being able to challenge for the AEW Championship for a year, and what type of tension that would bring between the two, and maybe between Hangman. But they went the opposite way. The Young Bucks lost, and they're no longer EVPs. So sucks for them, sucks to suck. But it was awesome. And low-key, I wouldn't mind seeing Swerve and Ospreay become tag team champions, but I don't know if we'll be seeing Will Ospreay for a while. But we'll get to that in a little bit. But we do have to talk about this, and that is Kenny Omega versus Okada. My God, what a match this was. Now, I'm going to be 1,000% honest with you. I've heard so much about the Kenny Omega Okada series, but I've never watched a full match from their New Japan days, man. I've only seen clips and highlights of it, but I've never watched a full match because these matches are hours long. Like, there was one match that went like over an hour. I'm like, I think I'm gonna pass. I'm gonna just stick to the highlights. But I am glad that I did get to see live and direct for the first time on American soil, Kenny Omega versus Okada, and my prediction was 1,000% correct. You have Okada, who is now the unified champion, and apparently Tony Khan was asked about this earlier in the week, and he said that the champion will hold all three belts. The Continental Championship isn't going to go away. And I think that because this is linked with the Continental Championship, it will be contested under Continental rules, meaning there will be no outside interference, which means the Don Callis family can't interfere in any of Okada's matches, so that's hilarious. But something that's also hilarious is this main event. The moment we've all been waiting for. Hangman Adam Page, Jon Moxley, Texas Deathmatch. Oh my God, they didn't waste any time in bleeding. They're bleeding all over the place. Hangman stabbed Moxley in the face with a fork. Yes. So they're bleeding. There's thumbtacks and beer bottle glass, and there's outside interference and all the shenanigans you could ever imagine. You have run-ins. Will Ospreay was the first person to run in for the baby faces because the Death Riders definitely pulled up and they're causing shenanigans. But Will Ospreay came out to make the save, but it didn't really work out too well for him because he got his cheeks clapped. The Death Riders took him out, so he's gonna be out for a while. And then you have Darby Allin show up on screen. He pulls up out of nowhere. Bryan Danielson pulls up with a blue demon mask. And he's doing the yes chants, which apparently the WWE wanted him to stop doing, so he just kept doing it more, so that was hilarious. You had Prince Nana handcuffing Marina Shafir. And the big save of them all, the one we were all waiting for, was Swerve coming out, because at this point you have the Death Riders out there, you have the Young Bucks out there, they're all causing shenanigans, but Swerve was the big difference maker. He comes out, he makes a save, he beats up the Young Bucks, he gives Hangman the chain. Hangman ends up knocking Moxley upside the head. He goes for the buckshot lariat on the bed of nails. He ends up actually legit lynching Jon Moxley the same way he did the last time they wrestled in Texas Death. And we have a new AEW champion. The championship has been freed from the briefcase, and I'm actually surprised that the championship was in there, because I'm thinking, man, there's no way that championship is in that briefcase. But I was wrong. It was. It definitely was. We have a new champion. Happy days are here again. The feeling is back. The feeling has been restored. All is right in the world. And I forgot to mention the most important part of all of this, and that is Hangman has his old theme, and he came out through the babyface tunnel. So all is right in the world. The main character is champion once again. We did it. We survived terrorism. We survived a pandemic known as the Death Riders, and we made it out on the other side. And you know, in a weird, strange way, this whole storyline was worth it, because this is what it's all about. The fact that I got so excited, I'm jumping up and down, celebrating the fact that Hangman won. I feel like I'm a kid again. Thank you, AEW. Thank you, Tony Khan. Prayers up for Adam Cole. Prayers up for Seth Rollins. And thank you, Goldberg. But with that being said, guys, what did you think of this full day of professional wrestling? Let me know in the comment section below. Of course, as always, like, comment, and subscribe. You guys take care. Beans, I'm out. Peace.